Part 39. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 381. On the day of fishing, Feng Qingxiu was not at home and went to the production brigade next door early in the morning to deliver the baby. Feng Qingxiu didn't know the name of the pregnant woman. The person who came to invite her was a neighbor of the pregnant woman. She didn't go into details about her family. She was like a leftover daughter-in-law. She was in pain from the middle of the night until now, and she couldn't stand hearing her screams anymore. Came to invite Feng Qingxiu because the two production brigades were close to each other and Feng Qingxiu was well known. Feng Qingxiu arrived and took a look and found that her condition was not good. No, it's very bad. She was sick due to overwork and was extremely malnourished. The fetal heartbeat gradually slowed down, and the birth canal was opened, but she had no strength to give birth. According to her own words, she hadn't even eaten hot soup or a full meal from morning until now. You have to cook for the mother so that she can have the strength to give birth, Feng Qingxiu said. The mother-in-law, who knew how to boil hot water and serve hot water, just sighed and said nothing. Her husband stood far outside the thatched shed with his hands tied. Mother and son were motionless, as if they were deaf. Yes, there is a thatched house, but in the cold weather, the daughter-in-law is allowed to give birth in the firewood shed. I won't give birth anymore. I won't give birth anymore. If I give birth to a child, I will be starved to death and suffer the fate of suffering. I have to do endless work during the day, and there is not a piece of dried sweet potato in the bowl of clear soup, Go Sheng's daughter-in-law cried. He roared out of breath. Feng Qingxiu said unhappily, you suffered through 10 months of pregnancy just to have him stillborn. I don't want to either, the leftover wife cried loudly, clutching the dirty firewood under her body with both hands, but what can I do? What can I do? I gave birth to him, and I can't afford to raise him. I have 300 kilograms of rations, but do I have 100 kilograms in my mouth? The whole family, the old and the young, have me take care of them. They work during the day and wash clothes at night, but the food they save is delivered to them. For my aunt in the city, don't people in the city eat commercial food? Why come to fight with me for rations? She doesn't have an urban household registration and works in her family. Why does she have to eat my rations if she earns work points? Why? She asked why 3 times in a row, which made her mother-in-law look very ugly. With a bang, she kicked over the wooden basin filled with hot water, turned around and left. Her husband quickly followed to comfort his mother, leaving Feng Qingxiu and the haystack behind. A pregnant woman full of resentment. The leftover wife smiled miserably, did you see that? This is my life. I can't even tell the truth. Feng Qingxiu said unceremoniously, what are you complaining about? What's the use of complaining? In the final analysis, it's your fault. Why can't you make the decision about your own food? You are strong, who dares to mess with you? I can't control my fate. If it were me, if they dared to make it difficult for me, I would fight with them. Anyway, if I don't fight, I will die, but if I fight, I might still be able to survive. As she spoke, she pretended to take out 2 eggs from the medicine box, peeled the shells and stuffed them into the mouth of the leftover wife. The leftover wife opened her mouth and bit into half of the egg, swallowed it in big gulps, wiped her mouth after eating, and used her upper body with strength, and the baby slid down smoothly, as skinny as a little mouse. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly went to scoop water from the pot on the stove next to her, and wrapped some old swaddling clothes for the child's bath that she had prepared long ago. She waited, and together with the swaddling clothes, it weighed no more than 4 or 5 kilograms. She has been very experienced in delivering babies so many times, and she can also measure the approximate weight of the baby. After all, not every family will prepare a scale in advance and wait to weigh the baby. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 382. It's a boy, Feng Qingxiu said to the leftover wife who was gasping for air on the haystack. She glanced at the child for a few times, her eyes turned red, hugged him tightly in her arms, and said viciously, "I can't let my child continue to suffer with me. They bullied me like this, and I fought with them. Thank you, doctor, thank you for your 2 eggs that gave me the strength to give birth to him. My life and his life are all given by you. Please give him a name. Please ask Feng Qingxiu to name the child, which can be regarded as a scenery in the countryside." Some people directly named their children Ifeng Ixiu, etc., while many people asked Feng Qingxiu to name their children, thinking that Feng Qingxiu was blessed and was a doctor who could scare ghosts and gods and keep away illnesses. Feng Qingxiu asked the child what her surname was. When she heard her surname was Lu, she thought for a moment and said, "Let's call her Lu Zheng." "Do you mean to ask me to compete with them?" Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly. "It is a clank of iron and steel. Zheng Zheng means outstanding talent or uprightness. I hope he will grow into a real man in the future, with outstanding talent and uprightness. Don't imitate his father. His wife is at a critical moment of life and death." But he was able to stand aside and follow his angry mother away. Until now, both mother and son were nowhere to be seen. "Okay, my name is Lu Zheng, and my nickname is Zheng Zheng." Go Sheng's wife liked the meaning of this name very much. She glanced at her son lovingly, then suddenly looked up at Feng Qingxiu. "Doctor, what is your name? Wait until Zheng Zheng grows up. When he gets older, I want to tell him that it was you who allowed him to be born safely, and I want him to always remember your kindness when the conditions are better. I must let my children give gifts to Feng Qingxiu during the holidays. Go back to the neighbor's sister-in-law and find out where her home is." Feng Qingxiu smiled slightly. A mother who gives birth to a child is the greatest kindness to her child. In an era like this, how difficult is it to raise a child? She didn't dare take credit. The leftover wife asked very persistently, and Feng Qingxiu had no choice but to say, "My surname is Feng, and my name is Feng Qingxiu." "My name is Zhu Danny." The leftover wife said her name immediately. After Feng Qingxiu finished handling the postpartum placenta and other items, she supported her and carried the child into the house. She put on clean clothes and lay down, covering her wearing a patched old quilt. Zhu Danny held Feng Qingxiu's hand tightly. "Dr. Qingxiu, thank you, thank you." Feng Qingxiu patted her hand and said softly, "Take good care of yourself. If others treat you badly, treat yourself and your children better, because you are your biggest supporter. You are right, my life is mine, no one can decide my life or death." On the verge of death, Zhu Danny suddenly figured it out. The result she wanted to understand was that not long after Feng Qingxiu returned home, she heard that Zhu Danny went into the city early the next morning after giving birth, ran to the eldest aunt's door and made a fuss at her eldest aunt's door, causing embarrassment to the eldest aunt's family. Wu Guang attracted the staff of the sub-district office, who severely criticized her eldest aunt and ordered her to return the grain she took from her parents' family and pay compensation to Zhu Danny. Zhu Danny came back and made a fuss in the production team again. She strongly demanded that the family be separated from her on the grounds that her mother-in-law was mistreating her like an old godly woman in feudal society. Lu Guxian didn't agree, so he let him live with his mother and he lived with his son. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 383. Zhu Danny suddenly became strong, and Lu Guosheng and her son were instantly intimidated. It was probably because they were reluctant to let their grandson live alone, so the family was not separated in the end. Instead, the housekeeper changed from Zhu Danny's mother-in-law to Zhu Danny. In fact, Zhu Danny couldn't bear to part with Lu Guosheng, a strong laborer. He was the only strong laborer in the family, so she kept him to work. So, it ended like this. Feng Qingxiu whispered, "It's so satisfying." Thinking of the treatment Zhu Danny received during childbirth, she applauded the current ending. "Yeah, it's very satisfying." Everyone gathered together to gossip, and it was Jing Kuihua who said this: "Zhu Danny is hard-working and capable. She married into their family, but she didn't live a good life for a day. Now she manages the house and has her mother-in-law. It's time to suffer." After saying that, she said to Miao Fengqin, "Auntie, not everyone is as lucky as your daughter-in-law. Not everyone is as lucky as you are such a good mother-in-law, and not everyone is as lucky as Jiao Xiao. Not everyone is as lucky as his mother-in-law. A good mother-in-law, she does all the laundry and cooking. I heard that the smell of meat comes from Jiao Jiao's house every day, and the two brothers-in-law don't even take a bite of it, they lie beside the door and drool every day." Wu Kuihua, Wang Haiping, and Feng Xiaowai were all present. After hearing Jing Kuihua's words, they all pursed their lips and smiled, nodded their heads, and said almost in unison, "Yes, our mothers say that we are lucky to have a good mother-in-law. A good mother-in-law is considered a good mother-in-law if she doesn't interfere with their married life, so they don't bother to care about the fact that their mother-in-law loves their sister-in-law more. Can it not hurt?" The old couple didn't even warm up the 6 ounces of meat and the 10 or 20 crucian carps they had just divided at home, so they sent them to Zhang Yuejin's house overnight, specifying that they would be cooked for Wang Jiao to eat so that she could breastfeed. The fish is divided by catty, and each person can get 2 catties of fish. The 2 elders specially selected crucian carp and raised it in a bucket. The crucian carp soup is used to make milk. At this moment, the 3 sisters-in-law are extremely happy that they separated into separate households when they got married, and each family takes care of their own food, clothing, housing, and transportation. If their family had one household registration, wouldn't the meat and fish that a dozen or so people get be cheaper than Wang Xiao? Although they are filial to their parents-in-law, they also have children of their own. Who is not greedy for meat? After hearing what her daughters-in-law said, Miao Fengqin smiled slightly and said, "It's just a comparison of feelings. The daughter-in-law is also the daughter of her parents-in-law, so who doesn't love their daughter? She treats her daughter-in-law well, and she can confidently ask her son-in-law's parents to treat their daughter well." Jing Kuihua sighed, "How difficult is it to compare hearts with others? How many people can do it? If everyone can compare hearts with each other, there won't be so many disagreements between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Auntie, after all, the captain is the culture people, everyone in your family is reasonable except for one Wang Xiao." Miao Fengqin was such a spirited person that she couldn't help but see the unfinished words of this niece-in-law. She couldn't help but sigh, "I also wonder, apart from being more painful when she was little, I also taught her the same way as her brother. How can I raise her? You're so lazy." Miao Fengqin had a headache thinking of her daughter's lazy temperament. She knew in her heart that she should take care of her daughter, but she had been pampered since she was a child and had become determined. Now it was too late to teach her. She simply couldn't listen to what she and her husband said, and she still went her own way. Fortunately, Zhang Yuejin has a good temper, and his parents are also honest people. His mother-in-law, who is a little bit angry, treats her daughter badly, and she has no shame to support her daughter. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 384. If Jiao Jiao can learn a little bit of Xiaoxiu's diligence, even 1/10, I won't ask for anything in this life. Miao Fengqin looked at Feng Qingxiu, who was sitting on the grass futon, teasing Zibao and basking in the sun. Miao Fengqin fell in love with this generous niece more and more, seeing how well she lived her life. When mentioning Feng Qingxiu, who in the production brigade would not give a thumbs up? Because Feng Qingxiu often helps the world and saves people. She does not pay for medical treatment, prescribes medicine, bandages wounds, sets bones and delivers babies, and does not accept many thank you gifts from everyone. Therefore, few people mention the Lu family anymore. Who should say that Father Lu should doing the hard work and dirty work is like two bad guys in the bullpen, and anyone else in the presence of him will put good words into his mouth. Whether you have a good reputation, whether you are a good person, and whether you can get unanimous praise from everyone all depends on your daily behavior. Wang Zhenqiu did it, and everyone said that his niece who looked most like Wang Zhenqiu also did it. Yes, many people privately say that Feng Qingxiu is more like Wang Zhenqiu's daughter than Wang Qiao, with similar temperament, similar methods, and similar cultural knowledge. On the other hand, Wang Qiao, hey, even Miao Fengqing can't describe her in words. But who calls Wang Qiao her daughter? The daughter you raise will have to be responsible for the rest of your life. Jing Kuihua followed her gaze and said, if Xiaoxiu and her mother-in-law were alive, I don't know how nourishing it would be to have such a good daughter-in-law. Miao Fengqin particularly agreed with this sentence and nodded vigorously. What kind of person is my mother-in-law? Are there any relatives in my mother-in-law's family? Feng Qingxiu asked curiously, not forgetting to pat her precious son who was sitting in her arms and drowsy from the sun. To be honest, after being married to the Lu family for so long, I have never heard my father-in-law or husband mention my mother-in-law's life story. Miao Fengqin thought for a while, elegant and dignified, graceful and luxurious, she is a typical noble lady. She is also charitable, which is very different from the wives of other landlords nearby. It is said that my natal family is quite rich. When I got married, I wore 10-mile red makeup. Where did it come from? We don't know about the people, and we don't know who else is in my mother's family. We only know that they are far away from us. Feng Qingxiu went home with the sleeping Zibao in her arms. She couldn't help but tell Lu Zhang about today's gossip and asked about her deceased mother-in-law. While chopping firewood, Lu Zhang said, My mother is very good. She and our father have been in love all their lives, but her life was not good and she died early. There are still photos of her and her eldest brother and sister-in-law at home, which are placed with those things. We're together. I'll take it out and show it to you tomorrow. I don't dare to mention it in front of my father, because I'm afraid that he will be sad if he doesn't mention it. It's one of the greatest tragedies in life, not to mention the loss of his eldest brother and his wife one after another. Sister-in-law is such a son and daughter-in-law. Do you think my mother would like me if she were alive? Definitely. My daughter-in-law is so nice, why shouldn't she like her? Lu Zhang said without thinking, when I was a child, my mother often said that if her mother-in-law was good to her, she should also be good to her daughter-in-law in the future. Good mother-in-law, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law have to be considerate of each other. Who hasn't become a mother-in-law from a daughter-in-law? The eldest daughter-in-law used to work in our mother's house. Feng Qingxiu was stunned. Is there such a thing? She had never heard of it. Who wants to mention the disgraceful past? No one wants to say that they have been a maid. Lu Zhang didn't take it seriously, didn't you notice? The name of De Guzi and the names of aunt and uncle both have the character phoenix. It is based on the pattern of our maids. Many of the maids are chosen from the tenant farmers' families. They either have children in the family and do not sign death certificates, or they are hired. I remember that my parents said that most of the tenant farmers are patriarchal. You girl, by doing this, you can say that they give many girls a chance to survive. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 385. Working as an errand in the Lu family means you don't have to worry about food, clothing, housing, and transportation at home, and you have monthly money to subsidize your parents' family. Even 2 or 3 yuan a month is better than having a son with his back at home facing the earth. He is also proud to send his daughter to work as an errand in the Lu family. I can learn a little bit about the height of my eyebrows. I would rather marry a maidservant than a daughter of a small family. This means that even a maid from a wealthy family has seen the world, and is better than a peasant girl from a poor background who makes a living by farming. When she reaches the marriageable age, there are many families looking for girls. She has no worries about finding her husband's family and can receive more betrothal gifts. Feng Qingxiu's mother Feng Ying and Aunt Feng Mei both worked in the Lu family back then. Only Wang Fengqiao was frail and sick since childhood and did not work as a maid in the Lu family. However, she often went to the Lu family to play. Her name was given to her by the old lady. Like the eldest maid of the Lu family, she was named after her sister. For Wang Zhenqiu's sake, Feng Mei, Feng Qingxiu's aunt, followed the old lady at that time, Feng Ying, Feng Qingxiu's mother, and Lu Jiang's mother, and learned a lot later. The Wang Zhenqiu brothers got married. Except for the youngest, they all married maids from the Lu family. They had saved a lot of private money from working as errands for several years, and they all received certain rewards when they got married. Wang Zhenqiu secretly took care of Lu's father. Except for Wang Zhenjun, the youngest, the other two brothers and his sister-in-law knew about it, but they never revealed a word to the public. Why? It's because they have all received kindness from the Lu family. Although Wang Zhenqiu's younger brothers had never worked as servants in the Lu family, Wang Zhenqiu taught them the principles of studying and being a good person. Wang Zhenjun was able to go to school outside because of Wang Zhenqiu's subsidy. He gained experience and became a clerk in the Bureau of Mines. His son married the daughter of a division-level cotter. He was enjoying great success, but his wife's siblings came to cause trouble, causing trouble. He was embarrassed and always felt that everyone was laughing at him. In addition, there was not enough food to eat. Remembering that many people said that the Wanglu Brigade had a good harvest in the past 2 years, he rode his bicycle to find Wang Zhenqiu early in the morning and asked Wang Zhenqiu to give him some food. He got several hundred kilograms of grain. Wang Zhenqiu stared at his dog-like brother with dumbfounded eyes, and then picked out his ears. "Young man, what are you talking about? I'm old and my ears are a little thick. Please repeat it again." "Brother, please get me a few hundred kilograms of grain, and I'll pay for it." "Isn't coarse grain now only 7 cents a kilogram?" Wang Zhenjun said as he gestured to take out the money from his pocket. After taking it for a long time, he couldn't help but hear Wang Zhenqiu's words to stop him. Feeling very unhappy, he slowly took out his wallet, pulled out a big unity card and handed it to Wang Zhenqiu. "Is that enough?" Wang Zhenqiu was angry and funny. He had given him face last time and brought his younger siblings to the wedding. Was he not wanting the villain to hold a grudge and bring trouble to the Wanglu Brigade? So he thought he was weak and could be bullied. "It's definitely not enough, youngest. The grain is 7 cents and 2 cents per caddy, 10 caddies and 7 cents and 2 cents, and 100 caddies and 7 cents and 2 cents," Wang Zhenqiu said seriously, without reaching out to pick up the big unity card from the old man. "How much do you want? 100 kilograms of grain, 100 kilograms or 900 kilograms? In addition, do you have a grain loan certificate issued by your unit?" "Although I am the captain of the Wanglu Brigade, I am also the branch secretary, but the grain reserve is collective, and I cannot make the decision alone. The leader has said that the more cotters you are, the less you can take advantage of the collective. You are also a cotter, and a cotter in the city, so you can set an example." Although he had some selfish motives for announcing the killing of pigs and fish, when they finally divided the meat and fish, he and his wife didn't take a shred of meat or a fish bone, 6 ounces of meat and 4 pounds of fish. In full view of everyone, there was no deviation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 386. Of course Wang Zhenqiu knows why Wang Zhenjun came to ask for food. Isn't it because his family's rations are not enough? For urban household registration, working people have different ration standards according to different types of work, with a minimum of 25 jins and a maximum of 45 jins. Only minors have a standard of 45 jins, unemployed adults only have 21 jins, and children have 8 jin, calculated on a monthly basis. Wang Zhenjun has a job, and his son was assigned a job after graduation, but his wife Lu Jinhua did not. Wang Zhenjun came to work in the city after the founding of the People's Republic of China. His reading and literacy made him stand out in the recruitment process. Before that, he had a son from a wife he married in his hometown. The betrothal gift was paid by Wang Zhenkuo, and Wang Zhenkuo also organized the wedding. To put it bluntly, he is just a muddy person, and he has not washed the muddy spots off his legs yet. Their parents were ordinary old sharecroppers with no money or ability. If it weren't for the Lu family's care, they wouldn't have been able to feed their 7 children. Later, they relied on Wang Zhenkuo and his 2 daughters who had worked as errands for the Lu family for several years to live a comfortable life, and have no ability to host weddings for their children. They cannot afford the betrothal gift and dowry, and they cannot afford the posture of their elders. The parents are incompetent and the eldest brother is like the father. Doesn't the marriage of the younger brother and sister belong to Wang Zhenkuo and is his responsibility? Among them, the marriage of 2 sisters, Feng Mei and Feng Ying, was not chosen by Wang Zhenkuo, but by his parents. Because of this, Wang Zhenkuo took the marriages of his other siblings into his hands. He said at that time that those 2 families were not suitable, but his parents did not listen. They thought that the person who came to propose marriage to Feng Mei was a wealthy cotter family in the city. Feng Mei would enjoy happiness if she married there, and she would fly up a branch and become a phoenix. Feng Ying's father-in-law was a good friend of Wang's father and had verbally promised their children's marriage. Otherwise, Feng's father would never have become Wang Zhenkuo's choice for his sister-in-law. Wang Zhenkuo is very responsible, and Miao Fengqin, the elder sister-in-law, also has no objection. She has a good impression of her second and third brothers. Her sister-in-law Feng Qiao really helped her a lot after she entered the house. She is not a tricky and weird person, so she marries well. It is beneficial and harmless to your own home. Wang Fengqiao and her second and third brothers always listen to their elder brother's words and are kind-hearted people who know how to repay kindness. So, under Wang Zhenkuo's arrangement, both brothers married a maid from the Lu family, and Wang Fengqiao married a childhood sweetheart from the village. Now they are living a very comfortable life. Wang Zhenjun, whose eyes are higher than his head, is different. Unlike his 3 older brothers who obeyed their parents' orders to be a matchmaker, the ambitious Wang Zhenjun was unwilling to marry a maid from the Lu family. He believed that he was not inferior to the Lu family, and his soul was as noble as the Lu family, so he was unwilling to be inferior to others, and he did not want to marry a maid from the Lu family. Accept the poison of arranged marriage, fall in love freely, and then enter the palace of marriage. Wang Zhenkuo knew that coercion was not sweet, so he didn't force his brother to live according to his own arrangements. He simply let go of the marriage until he brought Lu Jinhua back and told himself that he wanted to marry Lu Jinhua. Lu Jinhua is from the Red Star production team next door. The 2 production brigades, well, they were not production brigades at that time, they were villages. One is Wanglu village and the other is called Liujia village. The 2 villages are very close to each other, separated by a large piece of land that belongs to the Lu family of Wanglu village. It takes about 20 minutes to walk along the road from Wanglu village to Liujia village. Lu Jinhua lives up to her name. She is a golden flower in Liujia village. She is very beautiful and can be regarded as a model for a family to have a girl. Her reputation is no less than that of several daughters of the Wang family, which shows her beauty. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 387. The sisters are all well-known beauties. Of course Wang Zhenjun has high standards. He himself is good looking, has a sweet mouth, is well educated, and has a graceful demeanor. There are also ladies from landlord families who favor him, and there are also girls from the city who like him. However, he thinks that he is very strong and does not need to interfere in the door. The woman is rich and he is poor. In the eyes of outsiders, doesn't it mean that he is climbing up to the dragon and phoenix to interfere in the door? Moreover, he looked down on those girls. They were too ordinary and not as good looking as his sisters, so he rejected them righteously. Needless to say, after his rejection of these young ladies came out, on the surface, he was really evaluated as backbone. His tail almost reached the sky, and he became even more proud. Lu Jinhua has fair skin, big eyes, and a slender figure. For some reason, she and Wang Zhenjun are right in the eye. Lu Jinhua herself is very smart and scheming, so Wang Zhenkuo did not include her among the candidates for his sister-in-law. However, she grasped Wang Zhenjun's psychology, and she had no sisters or brothers in her family. After many visits, Wang Zhenjun became very jealous of her. Not married anymore. When Wang Zhenjun and Lu Jinhua got married, Lu Jinhua brought almost her entire family's fortune with her. It is said that she promised her parents that after marrying Wang Zhenkuo, she would support them until they die. The two villages are close to each other, and the Wang family has many brothers, so it doesn't matter if there is one more Wang Zhenjun and one less Wang Zhenjun. The second elder of the Lu family only had a daughter, and he was afraid that no one would support him in his old age. He believed her words and gave Lu Jinhua the 5 acres of farmland and all his savings as a dowry. Little did he know that Lu Jinhua had just left the house, and Mrs. Lu was behind. She got pregnant and gave birth to a big fat boy at the age of 40, which caused a sensation. There is a difference between having a son and not having a son. Old man Lu wanted to return to his 5 acres of Susukita. He has a son and has to make plans for his future. Unexpectedly, Lu Jinhua turned her back and said that the dowry given out was like the water thrown by a married daughter, and there was no reason to take it back. She was so angry that old Lu became seriously ill and almost died. It was a mistake, and the land was lost. After the founding of the People's Republic of China, the Lu family was classified as a peasant, with the best status, while Lu Jinhua's dowry land was nationalized. If it were not for the fact that it was only 5 acres of thin farmland, and the status was determined by his father, maybe the couple will be classified as poor and lower middle peasants. Middle peasants are people with a small amount of land, as long as they work for themselves and do not exploit others. Not long after, the city's coal mines were recruiting workers. Wang Zhenkuo, who was the village chief at the time, had several quotas to allocate to the strong labor force in the village. However, in the end, only one Wang Zhenjun was selected. The reason was very simple. He was literate, sweet-tongued, and good-looking. Well, I was chosen right away. Wang Zhenjun has an urban registered permanent residence, but Lu Jinhua does not. She and her children still have rural registered permanent residence. Wang Zhenjun ate commercial grain, while Lu Jinhua earned work points in farming so that he could share the rations. In this regard, Wang Zhenkuo was not partial at all. If you don't work and get work points, you won't have food to share. The relationship between the two brothers' families was really not good in those years. Later, Wang Zhenjun found a way and brought Lu Jinhua and her children to live in the city. In the first 1 or 2 years, Lu Jinhua had to come back to work to earn work points and get some food to take back. After 1 or 2 years, she stopped coming. It is said that her household registration was finalized. Eating commercial food. Anyway, apart from Wang Zhenjun coming back once when Wang Jiao got married, they haven't been seen in the past 5 or 6 years. Now Wang Zhenjun appeared again, asking for hundreds of kilograms of grain. To be honest, Wang Zhenkuo was surprised. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 388. Miao Fengqin stood under the eaves and heard clearly. Seeing the surprised look on her husband's face, she felt even more disgusted with Wang Zhenjun. She went over to pull her husband aside and stopped far away from Wang Zhenjun. She whispered in his ear, "There's something I forgot to tell you. Isn't Lu Jinhua's brother called Go Sheng? Something happened the day before yesterday." In a few words, she told her husband that Zhu Danny had gone to the city to settle a score with her eldest aunt. Wang Zhenqiu suddenly realized that it was no wonder that the youngest couple did not ask for food from the Wanglu brigade. It turned out that this selfish couple was trying to harass Mrs. Lu and Lu Gosheng. Compared to himself, Mrs. Lu and Lu Goshen were much easier to deal with. Old Lu had become ill from overwork in the past few years and died of an illness, otherwise Lu Jinhua would not have dared to visit her parents' house. Lu Jinhua must have made a big deal out of her status as a city dweller to her mother and brother. She might have promised to arrange a job for Lu Goshen, otherwise Mrs. Lu would not have given her daughter-in-law's rations so easily. Daughter. I have to say that Wang Zhenqiu guessed it right. Wang Zhenjun and Lu Jinhua originally thought that such a beautiful life would continue, but why did Mrs. Lu and Lu Goshen dream of eating commercial food? Little did they know that Zhu Danny, holding her child in her arms, made 2 riots at the gate of the mining bureau where Wang Zhenjun worked. The couple was criticized by the boss and lost food stamps and money. He could have been promoted. Yes, it's all gone now. With no hope of promotion, you can't live without enough to eat, right? My daughter-in-law is pregnant and needs to supplement her nutrition. Brother, you can't just watch me starve to death. It's not easy for me to feed a family. In order to achieve his goal, Wang Zhenjun was willing to pretend to be pitiful. Your niece-in-law is pregnant, and she is waiting for me to bring back rations to save her life. Miao Fengqin slapped her thigh and said, "My youngest, please take pity on your elder brother. Don't embarrass him. It's not easy for him to be the captain of this team. Every word and every move is watched by eyes everywhere. You are eating commercial food in the city. Who knew how hard it was for us in the countryside to get half a year's worth of melons and vegetables? Let's not talk about the past 2 years. Now there is a little harvest in the fields, and we work hard day and night to harvest, dry and pick them. You need to pay public food first, and those of you who eat commercial food. The state has regulations that the food reserve cannot exceed 1%. Where do you ask your elder brother to get you a few hundred kilograms of food?" Wang Zhenjun's face looked very ugly. "Sister-in-law, I'm talking to my elder brother. Do you only recognize your eldest brother and not me as your eldest sister-in-law? Your eldest brother is like your eldest brother as your father, but I, your eldest sister-in-law, am not your eldest sister-in-law as your mother." Miao Fengqin sneered, "We are husband and wife and you don't recognize me. This sister-in-law, then he is not your eldest brother. Since he is not your eldest brother, there is no need to satisfy your lion's mouth." She wished she didn't have this annoying brother-in-law. She thought she was a figure, but in fact, who wouldn't take him as a joke? "Brother." Wang Zhenjun did not answer Miao Fengqin directly, but looked at his honest and loyal eldest brother. "How can I ask for something, but you are so cruel that you won't agree to it? Despicable and shameless." Feng Qingxiu, who came to Wang Zhenqiu to open a letter of introduction, heard this comment in her mind after listening to their conversation. It was so despicable and shameless. Who did he think he was? Hundreds of kilograms of grain? National leaders don't even dare to say this. Okay. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 389. Uncle, big sister-in-law, Feng Qingxiu made a prompt decision and intercepted Wang Zhenjun's unreasonable request, as if she suddenly discovered Wang Zhenjun. "Ah, My uncle is here too? My uncle is a noble man in the city and a busy man, so how can he do it? Time to go back to my hometown. But I haven't seen you for more than a year. Oh, it's the 12th lunar month, and the Chinese New Year is just around the corner. Is my uncle here to visit my second uncle and third uncle? Wang Zhenjun narrowed his eyes. He had met Feng Qingxiu at Wang Jiao's wedding a year ago. After more than a year, he had no memory of her. Feng Qingxiu pursed her lips and smiled. It seems that my uncle is a noble man and forgets things so much that he doesn't even remember who I am. But it doesn't matter. I just need to recognize my uncle, so as not to make people laugh at me as a junior if I don't know each other when we meet across the street. Polite. Miao Fengqin was happy when she saw her niece, and was especially grateful for her interjection. Xiaoxiu, what can I do for you? Feng Qingxiu changed her mind and didn't mention the letter of introduction. I have something to ask my uncle for help. Could you come with me? It's an urgent matter, it's very urgent, and I need your uncle to come forward to solve it. As she said that, she said to Wang Zhenjun, Uncle, this matter is very important and involves human lives. I have asked your uncle to leave. Please forgive me. I will apologize to you when I see you another day. She reached out and pulled Wang Zhenqiu's sleeve. He walked in the direction he came from, without giving Wang Zhenjun a chance to react or object. His feet were extremely fast and he looked like he was in a hurry. The two of them crossed the river and slowly stopped at the door of Lu's house. Feng Qingxiu smiled. Xiaoxiu, what happened is life-threatening, do you need me to step in? Wang Zhenqiu, who had temporarily escaped from his brother, couldn't help asking. He walked as if he was jogging, but his old bones were exhausted. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, I would like to ask you to write a letter of introduction, and I will send something to Jiang's comrades. It's winter again. Hu Ping sent them a lot of northeastern specialties. I just received them today. Other comrades also sent some New Year's goods. She and Lu Zhang agreed to get some food from home to hide it from others, and mix it with some from the space on the way. Without sending other scarce supplies, no one would find out even if someone checked the package when it was sent there. In the past 2 years, she has mixed some space grains in from time to time when cooking. In addition, she secretly doubled the amount of specialties sent by her comrades, which reduced everyone's food intake. On occasion, I took the children to dig wild vegetables. The vegetables in the private plot grew luxuriantly, and they were often mixed into the vegetables when cooking. Therefore, the family has saved hundreds of kilograms of old grain. Wang Zhenqiu was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said, it's not a big deal. I'll open it tonight and ask Lu Zhang to pick it up. Is it Lu Jiang's comrade who sent you something again? You guys are returning the gift? Yes, that comrade in the northeast sends special products twice a year. In winter, they send special products collected in autumn, and in spring, they send special products collected in winter. In winter, they have nothing to do, and they often go to the mountains. Their rolling mountains are a natural treasure house and are rich in products. Wang Zhenqiu rubbed his hands and said sheepishly, well, Xiaoxiu, I want to discuss something with you. What's the matter? Tell me. You know very well the situation of your cousin's greedy cat. Now she has to feed the dog eggs. If she doesn't eat meat and milk for a meal, she won't be able to get rid of it. Now both families are giving her the good stuff. I'll trade the grain with you for a few kilograms of air-dried meat. Send it to her later. You can't let her mother-in-law and Yuejin lose their eyebrows all the time. When Gauden is 4 or 5 months old and can drink rice soup and egg custard, you won't care about your cousin. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 390. Feng Qingxiu agreed immediately, I have prepared 2 dried chickens for you and was about to send them to you. I heard from sister-in-law Kwewa that all the meat and fish that you and Dijinzu received will be given to your cousin. There is no need to give food. I'll keep it for you and Digaiza. But when you tell your cousin, you must tell her that you have to pay for it with food, and so do we. There is no such thing as a free lunch. Wang Jiao is already lazy enough. If she continues to get something for nothing, what will she become in the future? She couldn't bear that Wang Jiao became useless and hateful. When she was out of confinement, she could slowly train her while she was still young. If she didn't change, it would be too late. People who have passed middle age can still find their way back, not to mention that Wang Jiao is only 1 year older than herself. A true friend is to persuade her to return to the right path, instead of letting her go further and further down the wrong path and destroy her good cards. If Wang Jiao's character continues, it is very likely that she will fall into betrayal and alienation. Everyone's tolerance is limited, and feelings cannot withstand consumption, including Zhang Yuejin and his mother. How can this be possible? Wang Zhenqiu never thought of taking advantage of his niece. Don't be polite to me. In my heart, you are better than your biological father. Isn't it right for a daughter to be filial to her biological father? Feng Qingxiu truly regarded Wang Zhenqiu as a father. The original owner's parents favored sons over daughters, but there was no such thing as my uncle and aunt treat me well. Wang Zhenqiu's eye circles suddenly turned red. Can you not be moved? His beloved daughter never thought of being filial to his father, but the niece who took care of him did her best to him and his wife, and never forgot to give them a piece of delicious food. After wiping his face, he said, I'm going to talk to your father. Okay, uncle, you can eat at our house at noon. In case Wang Zhenjun lingered on and still pestered him. The allotment of pork was eaten up in 2 days, and the crucian carp was kept in a bucket to stew soup for Zibao to make noodles. The air-dried meat was too dry and hard to stew, so Feng Qingxiu cut into a large piece and cooked it. Bacon, stir-fried with dried chili pepper, the lean meat is bright red, and the fat meat is transparent, then fried a garlic yolk egg, fried shredded radish and vinegar-soaked cabbage strips, cooked a pot of brown rice and pumpkin porridge, and cooked a pot of black noodles. Examination paper. Zhang, didn't you bring back a bottle of mutai? Open it and pour a cup for dad and uncle later. Lu Zhang responded, took off the little fat man sitting on top of him and held him in his arms. The two men went into the house together, took out a bottle of mutai they brought and put it on the dining table. They casually told his nephew to invite his grandparents to eat. Would you like to invite Grandpa Su and Grandma Su as well? Lu Tianzi asked, looking up at Zibao. Call everyone, let's have a meal together. Lu Zhang touched his head, and Zibao immediately stopped complying. He yelled angrily, grabbed his big hand, put it to his mouth and took a bite. The little guy didn't have teeth, so his soft gums bit Lu Jiang's hand, making it itchy and wet. Hey, little one, daddy's meat is hard and the skin is thick. Don't damage your soft and tender gums, which will make your teeth stop growing and make you look like an old woman with a flat mouth. Come on, let's help mom serve the dishes. Let's get to work. The little fat boy kept biting the first half of the sentence. When he heard the word mother, the little fat boy seemed to understand and relaxed. Seeing this scene, several children in the room pursed their lips and smiled. Zibao was so cute. Don't just stand there stupidly, go to the kitchen to serve food and rice and get chopsticks. Lu Zhang hugged the little fat man and brought a bunch of large and small radish heads into the kitchen, and then returned to the main room. When he came back, there was no one there. No one is empty-handed.